Racist individuals love, love, love to parrot that, what about black on black crime? Whenever you bring something to their attention, that's always the dog whistle to go to. Yeah, well, today the conversation is going to be, what about that white on white crime that you choose not to see? Uh-huh. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and show you this video, and I'm gonna have to break some stuff down. Now, I need to warn you that the language is a little coarse. It's a little coarse, but look at the message and not the messenger. And we'll talk about it on the other side. Without any further ado, roll the clip.
Do you hate white people? I think the better question is, why do the whites hate each other so much? According to the book, history is an endless pattern of white on white crime. It is either the rich whites seeking more power and influence, so they throw the poor whites at each other to get it, or the rich whites wanting more power and influence, so they convince the poor whites that people of color are the problem and throw them at people of color. A classic example of this would be the original plantation. We also got World War I, World War II, the Napoleonic Wars, the Russian white on white slavery system, Alexander III, Nicholas II, Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, Vladimir Putin. All of this that I just mentioned is just some surface level white on white crime shit. Let me introduce you to some deeper level stuff. Introduce to you the Vietnam War. Bradley, what does Asia have to do with the whites? You guys remember when I said the rich whites would convince the poor whites that people of color are the problem and they would throw them at people of color? This is it. Unlike the Indonesian National Revolution and unlike the Korean War, the Vietnam War was a little bit different. A bunch of poor whites saw black people protesting the Vietnam War and they were like, they're kind of making sense. Why are we dying? For what reason, bro? And then the American government was like, these poors have figured it out, gentlemen. We gotta pull the troops back. So the Vietnam War ended not because Southeast Asians were dying, not because black people were dying more per capita. It was just because too many whites died and too many whites complained about this shit. Another good example of white on white crime is when slavery ended. What I just said sounds a little bit crazy. So let me explain it like this. Sir, slave rebellions are popping up left, right, and center. Now is that right? I don't think we can keep this up, sir. We cannot financially recover from this. Well, then we must end slavery. But sir, now hang on now, Johnson, let me land. We must end slavery on paper so that we can spend our time perfecting capitalism and the comedy joke that is the American dream. We put in fake inclusive stuff like DEI. You know what that means, Johnson? Not only the colors will work for us, but also the poor whites. Sir, you're a genius. Now, with all that being said, let's go back to the original question. Do I really hate white people? Now, here's the thing. The whites tends to think that whenever I say I want to reduce the wealth gap between a white person and a black person, I'm being anti-white. When I say that they need to give native people their land back, I'm bringing up old stuff to make them look bad. Here's what I think, though. You people can take your clan hoods and go back to Europe.
Ah, the old Southern strategy. Yes. We're going to convince you poor white people that it is immigrants and people of color. That's the real problem on why you don't have. You need more receipts? Yeah, okay, here we go. So this is from Black AF History. The Unwhitewashed Story of America. This is actually begins on page 362. If you'd like to get it, go on and check in the description. You're welcome. You're welcome. But listen, y'all fall for this every time. This is continued white on white crime. Let's get into it.
In 1981, Lee Atwater, the political campaign architect who refined the Southern strategy for Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, described the Republican Party's winning template. You start out in 1954 by saying, by 1968, you can't say that hurts you, backfires. So you say stuff like, forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff, and you're getting so abstract. Now you're talking about cutting taxes, and all these things you're talking about are totally economic things. And a byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. We want to cut this is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than On August 3rd, 1980, a new Republican presidential hopeful was searching for a spot to make a big political statement. Instead of speaking in his home state of California, he chose a place that was sure to rile up his base of angry white Southern supporters. The Neshoba County Fair in Philadelphia, Mississippi, which happened to be the site of Emmett Till's murder. In 1964, when members of the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan abducted and murdered James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, Klan organizer Edgar Ray Killen was arrested and charged with the murders, but his first trial ended in a hung jury. On August 4th, 1964, 44 days after they disappeared, authorities found the bodies buried in a dam on the old Jolly Farm, a stone's throw from the open field where Reagan chose to give his speech. As the mostly white crowd that included members of the Klan looked on, Reagan gave a 33-paragraph, dog whistle-filled speech about the dangers of welfare and outsiders to a rousing round of applause. That man knew what he was doing by conjuring up the worst elements of whiteness. He believed that he could employ the Southern strategy and cement the South as Republican territory. More than 15,000 people showed up. I'm not saying this was racist, because I don't have to.
Now, to be honest with you, you should feel a little silly. I know folks don't. I know that you don't feel silly, but listen, y'all going around here and talking about we tired of this woke stuff, but you're not woke. See, if you were really woke, you would understand that white on white crime is real, huh? And it is of the worst kind. So why they keep bamboozling you with this white Southern strategy, they know exactly what they're doing, and they count on you to continue to not be educated about anything that they do. So they go and they dog whistle the hell out of, the immigrants here, and the immigrants are doing this, and the black people, and this is why you don't have. No, baby, we are not in the room making these policies, and they make sure of that. That goes all the way back to 1800s and stuff like that, but that's a whole nother video. No, you've been led astray, bamboozled, and hoodwinked, and it seemed like you like it. White on white crime is real, baby. All in school shootings, white on white crime. All these wars, white on white crime. Your minimum wage in the red states not being raised, white on white crime. Yeah, they sitting over there in the legislature. The same people that you vote in or that you don't vote by because you just didn't vote, so they get voted in by osmosis. Yeah, they vote every time not to raise your minimum wage. All these cuts that are happening to Medicaid and stuff like that, white on white crime. Hmm? Yeah, the reason why you don't have and your hospitals and everything gonna shut down, white on white crime. hmm See, black people, when you talking about black on black crime, yeah, we don't go around just trying to hurt people intentionally, the masses. I'm not saying it's right at all. I know it's wrong. And I'll talk about that later too. I am not exempt from talking about my own. But right now, we talking about white on white crime. Because racist white folk love to parrot the one thing, either you're pulling out the race card. If you don't stop, you professional generational victim. Or what about black on black crime? So I'm just showing you all of the white on white crimes. And you keep blaming black people for your misery, when in fact, you are the one that votes for your own demise. You do. You do it every single time, and they know that. This is no different than when the people came into Ellis Island in the 30s and the 40s from different places in Europe, Italy, Ireland, the Polish folk, hmm, all of these people. And no, the white Americans here did not like them at all. They considered them dirty white race. All you got to do is look at redlining maps and look at the language that's in there. It'll tell you. Okay. So that's the dirty white race. But then they came up with the concept, wait a minute, melting pot. Yeah. That came from a play. So they used that analogy to wash the so called dirty white race. because they wanted to build their white political power structure. Here's the deal. There are way more poor and or working class white population than there are rich ones. But in order for the rich ones to stay in power, they need you the same way they needed the white immigrants that came into Ellis Island. Now, they stuck them in the tenements. They didn't like them either. But when they figured out what they could do, they said, okay, we're going to give you a little piece of this. Listen, you Irish, y'all can go over here to Boston. Y'all can have that part. Do your own little thing, okay? You Italians over here, we know what some of y'all doing. And we're going to let y'all have that, okay? We're going to turn around. We're going to turn our heads on that. And this is what we need for you to do for us. That we're going to give you this. And this is what we need. Because again, more poor white population than the rich ones. But in order for the rich ones to stay in power, especially now, since they see that people of color have risen to about 50%, just about. So there is a fear there of not being in power. But the deal is, now, are you looking for just white people to be in power, or are you looking for a better way of life? Because you guys are also quick to pair. You guys just voting for them because they're black. No, we don't do that. That's something that you do. Now, I'm going to need for y'all to stop that projection. Okay? Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Speak for yourself. Because, see, the deal is you have control over all of this white on white crime. You have control. You have the power to stop it. All you have to do is love you. Because, see, when your people start loving each other and stop with this violent stuff and thinking that's going to get you respect, it doesn't. It doesn't. Okay. But when you start loving yourself, then you're not going to have a need, reason, or rhyme to sit up there and put your boots on the neck of another group. It was not the migrants that are shutting y'all down that got y'all poor. It is not black people that got y'all poor. It is not transgender that got y'all poor. It's you that got you poor because of the way that you keep voting, even though you should know better. But you love to go around talking about, we're tired of this hashtag woke stuff, when in fact you sleep like a mug. Okay, you sleep. Sleep, child. Sleep in a deep slumber, like a bear in the woods in the winter. Sleep. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to wake up. And if you wasn't so down with them book bans and read a book or two, you might learn some stuff. But anyway, some people will listen, some people won't. I'm not here for that. It's up to you. You got the power. Listen, my name is Larissa. I am the People's Reporter, and baby, I might be new here with that dog barking outside. Okay. But I got a whole lot to say. All right. So go on and click that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss nothing. Because as you see, I got a lot to talk about, baby. You see this hour is on my face. I've seen a lot, and I got a lot to talk about. Waited my whole life. So, y'all know my mantra. Say it with me. Come on, y'all. Power to the what? Power to the black people. Bye, y'all.